Hello there, everyone. I'm Claudia Lash, and today I am working alone without my handy-dandy little helper because he's working on his own things. Today I am doing I think it's part 2 maybe, of making this joy quilt. Making a quilt and just doing some easy piecing to make a background and then adding applique on top. I talked, I think in the last time, about making the background, and for the joy quilt, which is right here, the background's pretty easy. It's just strips, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can vary the colors, you can use whatever, you can make it bigger, wider, some of the strips narrower, so that it's totally up to you. For me, keep it simple to start with. You don't want some intricate pieced background and then cover it up with a bunch of applique. What's the point, you know? So, we talked about piecing the background. My quilt is right over here, and I have pieced my background. It's half square triangles. So if you're piecing something a little bit more than strips, that's fine too. Once you have your background pieced, the next step in the joy quilt and in the quilt that I am making that's a little different is to make the words for the quilt. I have several quilts that I have words on. You can look them up. One of them is a quilt about reading, or about, I think of it as my library quilt because it actually belongs to my library, but they let me take it around to shows. But it's a quilt that has a bunch of books on it, and it says, never judge a book by its movie. It's quite a nice one. So I have a couple of others that have words on them, but for the joy quilt, it's pretty easy, the word business, because you only have 3 big letters. But if you're interested in putting words onto quilts, and you just downloaded the Simple Joy Quilt. The Joy Quilt has some directions for putting the joy letters on, but if you want to put more words and things, on my website under tutorials, there is a learning, well, it's under learning, and then under tutorials, there is a little several pages about word applique the easy way. And that's what I'm going to be doing today with the joy thing, and then I'm going to be using it on my quilt too. So for adding the joy letters, we are going to use these big letters, J-O-Y. They are in your pattern. There's J and Y, and O is on the other page. And the first thing you have to do is trace around those letters onto freezer paper. So I'm going to show you mine. I hope you can see them. I traced around them with pencil. Well, I have the J and the Y here. I did not trace the O, but I can trace them. If you have a light box, and notice I'm keeping them separate a little bit. Got this set up so I can trace this O. And one thing I didn't say a minute ago is you need to make sure and trace on the not the shiny side of the freezer paper. Trace your letters on the dull side of the freezer paper. I usually trace them so that there's some space in between, and these, we're not tracing for a historical document or anything, and right now my hand is not, I still don't have my coordination all in my fingers, And it may even get worse if I have surgery. We haven't heard that yet. Okay, but right here, I am going to just trace this O. And if I get it a little off, nobody's going to care. These are just, now these letters I think I got from some sort of font online. We'll talk about that maybe in the next video about doing letters or how I get these letters. Anyway, trace them with pencil, and then we want to take some paper scissors and we want to cut them out so that there is some space around each letter. So let me, really practiced person would have all these things here. And these are my paper scissors. And I mentioned that I do have trouble. I can't cut right this time. So I can get my hands in there. I have to have the whole fingers on there. But you're going to cut so that you have extra. Yeah, I can cut a little bit. We're better than we used to be, believe it or not. And hopefully this will get better. Okay. I'm gonna just cut the J out right here because it's awful to have issues like this when you're a quilter. We're doing, see, I did that pretty good. See how I cut that so that there was some extra around there. And now, and I did forget to say, if you are doing other letters or whatever, and see, these were really easy to see without a light box. But if you need to, you can use a light box, and then you can see the letters a little bit easier. Okay, so I am going to cut all of these out, and then we're going to move on to the next step. We're going to leave space around each letter. All right, I have my joy letters cut out, and I'm trying to curl a little, but set those aside once you get them cut out. Choose your fabric that you want the letters to be in. In my joy quilt, I used a pink batik. Batiks work really well because they're nice and tightly woven. If you try to use a very loose thing with this method, it might be a little bit more difficult. But batiks are a good tightly woven fabric will work. This is not a batik, but this is just white. I wanted to do my joy letters on white because I think I'm going to use white on my quilt, my joy quilt. So I have put Steam a Seam 2 Light on the back, and all I did was I covered the whole back of this rectangle with Steam a Seam 2 Light. And I did it a few minutes ago, so now my iron has cooled off. I need my iron to be hot again because I'm going to lay down the letters on this piece of fabric, and then I am going to press them. Now I'm going to press them with a dry iron. I don't want to use steam, and I am going to press them right on top of the paper. So the freezer paper is going to be pressed down to the right side of your fabric. Why is Y there? I don't know, but we're putting Y there, and I hope that my iron is warm, nice and hot, but no steam. And I'm going to just stick this down. Because they're separate, I can stick them in, I can put the G down here also. I just have to make sure I have room for O. I'm going to stick G down. And then I'm going to put the O up here. And luckily, I don't have directional fabric. If you did, you might want to put them so they're all going the same direction. But this is not directional, and I can stick it up here where there's space. Wasn't nice and stuck. I'll let them cool off a minute, and I'm going to take, once they've cooled off, I probably will cut them out generally in their big hunk here, and then I'm going to cut them, well, I'm going to try to cut them with my good, I have some Karen K. Buckley shears that are very good for cutting fabric. Hopefully I can use my not very good right hand to cut with them. We'll see. So let me move back over to where I was. Back over here. And I just noticed, lucky for me, these scissors have nice big places for me, because I can maybe get them to work. And if not, I can show you how to do it, and you can do this, I'm sure, much better than I can. And I will just go have my guy upstairs. And that's not God, that's my husband upstairs. But I'm going to have him cut these out if I can't do it. So far, so good. What you want to do is you're going to cut right on the line that you drew. How easy is that? And so this Y, oh, and I'm just doing so nicely. I am so proud. I'm so proud of you, right hand. Let's keep it up. We couldn't have done this just a few months ago. I have made some progress. When you get to something like this, just cut that off so that you can cut down in this area. When you're going to cut, like this O, I won't show you, but when you're going to cut the center section out, fold it and cut in the middle, and then get in there. Do not cross over. We don't want a raw edge sitting on the top of our quilt. Okay, so I will be back when I have these cut. Okay, I finally have these cut out, and after you have them cut out, you can just take the freezer paper off the top gently. Here, there, take it off the top and place it, or figure out where you want it on your quilt. Now, since I am not doing these letters on, probably can't see this. I'm not doing, I don't think I'm going to use the joy letters. So, because this is a little bit big, but if I were, I would just place them wherever and pour a little oh my goodness. Don't worry if you have trouble cutting out this tiny little bit right here. It was a real chore. And I thought, oh well, it doesn't have to be perfect. But decide how you want to place them. You can lay them like this, however you like them. And then we will, I just take the backing off of my steam machine, and I can press them down. And if they are, I don't know why I'm playing with them, which I'm not going to use them. But they do look pretty, and once I press them down, then I hold off and don't do any sewing until I get the rest of the applique parts and all on the quilt. If I, once I get all of the applique on, and I put the batting on and everything, then I do the sewing, and that way it's easier to quilt things down if you have the batting and everything underneath your quilt. It gives it some stability. So that's what you do if you're just using the joy letters. Now, if you would like to do the same idea, but use maybe more words and like longer words and that kind of thing, I'm going to do that in a upcoming video also, because it's done in the same way. You just have to take a little more time making your letters and definitely cutting them out, which for me may be really tricky. It may have to be done by my sweet husband. And hope that someday I will be able to cut again. So that's it for putting the joy letters on the joy quilt, and check back with me on doing the lettering more big letters where you're coming up with what you're going to put down. Okay? Thank you.